Hello and welcome back to New Year, New Game. This is where I attempt to play 365 games from my Steam library that I have never played before. This is game 265, Kerbal Space Program. I've seen these little Martian guys around in the page store, on sale, things like that, and never knew what they were. And finally, I purchased a bundle and happened to have gotten Kerbal Space Program, and so I added it to the list and wanted to see what it was going to be like. And just to read off of the store page that they have here, in Kerbal Space Program, take charge of the space program for the alien race known as the Kerbals. You have access to an array of parts to assemble fully functional spacecraft that flies or doesn't, based on realistic aerodynamic and orbital physics. So I thought that was really cool. It's got tags of space simulations, sandbox physics, and science. So that all seems absolutely lovely. I don't know if it's going to have any type of tutorial mission or walkthrough that we do to learn how all of this works, but the fact that it is based on realistic aerodynamic and orbital physics seems really neat, and I feel like you can be in for a lot of fun and a lot of crazy antics. So without further ado, let's get in the game. Hey, it's a little spaceman. He's happy out there flying. Start game. Start new. Oh, there's a training. Should we do a training? We should probably do a training. Getting started. Basic construction. Oh, basic flight. Instrument. There's a lot of different trainings to do here. Oh, God. I guess we'll just start with the basics. They will do the basics and then move on to playing and see how well we do. We'll just wing it from there. Wormhim von Kerman. Welcome to today's lecture on vessel construction. I'm Wormhim von Kerman. Whether you want to put a satellite into orbit, make a transcontinental flight, or step onto the very surface of the moon, you're going to need to build yourself a ship. It should be pretty easy, even if you're not a famous rocket scientist like myself. In this tutorial, I will first show you around the Kerbal Space Center, then take you to the Vehicle Assembly Building, where you'll learn how to construct a simple ship. We'll cover adding and removing parts, what the parts do, how to change the performance settings of the parts which have that option, and how to control staging. At the end of the tutorial, you'll have a craft fit for a quick hop from the launch pad. At each step, I will lock out all controls other than the ones you need for that step. If you still manage to mess up, it took even me some time to become as skilled as I am now, you can press the back button to go back and fix things. It won't light up unless you do mess up. We are now at the Kerbal Space Center. I'll give you a quick rundown on how to get around. The KSC is short. The KSC for short is home to the pinnacle of Kerbal endeavor and achievements for space exploration. Using the facilities you can see here, you will be able to manage the space program, create rockets and planes, track your Kerbal explorers as they roam the solar system, find exciting new uses for explosive substances, and in case of an emergency, hire more Kerbals. To find out about each of the facilities, you can hover your mouse over them or the facilities button. They show up when the cursor is outside this window. If you need to repair a structure or upgrade them in career, you can do this by right-clicking them. Take some time to hover over the mouse, over the buildings, and see what they each are. And when you're ready, enter the Vehicle Assembly Building. So we got a launch pad. Launch pad's where vessels built at the VAB are launched. We are responsibly confident it is at a safe enough distance from everything else. Gotta have that confidence. You got the tracking station. So the tracking station, all ongoing missions can be viewed in focus. Landed craft can be recovered from here as well. We got a runway. At the runway, the spacecraft built in the space plane hangar have a long flight surface to reach takeoff speed. Conceivably, such aircraft could even land back on it. You got mission control. At the mission control facility, all available contracts can be managed. It also offers a very nice view of the launch site for any who are brave enough to be so close to a launching craft. We've got the space plane hangar. The space plane hangar allows construction of spacecraft design to be launched from the runway. The astronaut complex. The astronaut complex contains the living and recreation spaces for all our crew members. New applicants also apply here to be recruited. The administration building. The administration building may not seem like a very exciting place at first, but here is where all our strategic decisions are made. Then you got the research and development. At the R&D facility, our team of scientists works hard to crunch the data received from mission experiments, not experts. Here, all research technologies can be viewed and new ones discovered. And then the vehicle assembly building, VAB. The VAB is where spacecraft are designed and built before being moved over to the launch pad for flight. Now, he wants us to enter that, the VAB. So we will left-click that, and now we are inside. Very good. What you see in the middle of the screen is the construction area. This is where parts placed and your craft constructed. On the left side of the screen is the parts toolbox. It'll show all parts you have available in each of the different categories. Once there are any to pick, that's it. So, all these wonderful things. If you want to craft to be controlled by... If you want your craft to be controllable, you need a command module. And it's best to make it the first part you place. This part will either contain some plucky Kerbal crew or an automated pilot mechanism. As we're just starting, there's only one choice. Go ahead and pick that command module from the Pods tab. Pods tab. MK1 command module. After at least one part is placed, you can look around with the following controls. Orbital camera, which is the arrow keys, or right mouse drag. You usually do right mouse drag. Move the camera up and down, page up, page down. So we do that. Zoom the camera, which is usually the mouse wheel is how I do it. Keypad plus or minus, or shift plus the mouse scroll wheel. Alright. Shift mouse scroll wheel. If you'd like your pilot to be able to make more than one flight, he or she will have to return safely to the ground or water on Kerbal. Parachutes are a simple way to make sure that happens. They can be found on the Utility tab. Change tabs by clicking their icons on the left of the part list window. When you've chosen parts, you can view the details of available parts by hovering over them in the toolbox. When the info is visible, most parts have an additional information window which can be opened with a right click. Note that the parachute stats, the effective diameter in each stat, and what the maximum safe speed for deployment is. Go ahead and select MK16 parachute by left-clicking on it. Swing parachute. That's payload. Say utility. MK16 parachute. Then move it to the top of the command pod so that the green sphere at the bottom of the parachute lines up with the green sphere at the top of the pod. Click again to attach. Boop. Next. Some pods, like our parachutes here, have configurable options. To see these, we need to right-click on the parachute we just attached to the pod. Do that now, and you will see available parameters. Can you see them without this in the way? Here we go. On the parachute, you will see that we can adjust our altitude and the atmospheric pressure at which they open. That setting can be quite useful on distant worlds. For now, let's check that the opening height of the chute is at least 1,000 meters, because safely in the Kerbal way, after all. Well, safety is the Kerbal way. Altitude is what he was looking for. Height of the chute. Yep, 1,000. For the min pressure sidebar, move it a bit to the right to 0.2. Too far, let's go back a bit. I can't go back to 0.2. It can only go to 0.4. The setting prevents the chute from activating until the atmospheric pressure is above the configured value. On Kerbal 0.2 is about a 9 kilometers in altitude, so even if you staged early in the parachute, it will wait until then to activate. You can hide these options by right-clicking on the background scene or picking up another part when there's one available. When you're happy with that, we can proceed. I want to know is how I'm going to get to 0.2. Oh, there we go. 0.2 is also 0.20. Next up, we are going to need something to make us go. Click on the Engines tab on the left to show the available engines in solid rocket motors. Grab one and connect it to the bottom of the pod. You may need to zoom or move the camera to be able to do so. What's going on the bottom here? Alright, Engines tab. Let's see. Bam. Click on the Engines tab on the left. Show available engines and solid rocket motors. Oop. There we go. Oops! I forgot you're just starting out. You're not a famous rocket scientist, and to make that craft survivable as it stands, now you'll have to be better at rocket science than me. Ha! Impossible! The problem with that craft is that this solid rocket is too powerful for the payload. A single small pod and chute. It'll either burn up on ascent from going too fast or burn up coming back down. Even if you survive that, the craft's mass would cause it to fall too fast for the parachute to operate properly, and you'd hit the surface before it could stop you. Okay, I promise to teach you how to change that to make it work in a later tutorial, but for now, let's continue. Well, at least this way, I get to tell you about removing parts. Pick up the BACC thumper and either drop it back over to the parts toolbox or press delete. So grab that, hit delete. Next. Instead, let's add the solid motor so that's better match for a GPU. Instead, let's add the solid motor that's a better match for a ship of this size. Motors. Where is the motors? Is it this one? It's still on engines. That said, it does have enough oomph to get this little craft moving skyward. And quickly. As you progress, you'll be able to unlock more engines in other parts. For now, though, let's pick the RT5 Flea and connect it to the bottom of the pod. That is what this is. Left click, I'm trying to like drag it over. Up. Next. Nice one! You've built the simplest survivable craft possible. We could go launch this right now, but it might be safe to explain one other thing first. In the bottom right, you will see the starting stack. It's the box with the number 0 and icons for the parachute and engines in it. This stack shows us which parts will be activated as we stage our rocket. What this shows is that when we activate the next stage, both the engine and the parachute will be triggered. While it could be considered funny to open the chute and fire the motor at the same time, it's not going to give you much of a fight. To fix this, we need to separate the engine and chute into 2 stages. If you mouse over the 0 stage, you will see a little plus and minus appear on the left of the box. Click the plus button to add a new stage. If you add too many, click the minus button on the extra ones to remove them. Make sure you have precisely 2 stages. So let's go 1, 2. Like that. That's the same way. Okay. Said 2, yeah. No, I didn't say add 2, just 1. Excellent! It's important to note that the stage is active from the highest number and then count down. So our first stage will be stage 1, the engine, and our second one will be stage 0, the chute. Now drag the engine icon from stage 0 down to stage 1 to give our pilot some comfort. Okay. Engine down to stage 1. That's it! We now have a safe, well, relatively safe craft that's ready to go. Let's make sure that if we need this design again, we don't have to build it all from scratch. At the top of the screen, you'll see the name of your craft, or for our craft. Untitled Spacecraft doesn't seem so majestic. Why don't you change that to be something more your style? And you can add descriptions if you'd like to. Just pick a name. Let's go... Roundy McRounder's son. There we go. When you use the load screens later, these names and descriptions help you to grab the right vessel. When you're happy with the name, click on the save icon in the upper right. Upper right, save. There we go. And next. Excellent work! Feel free to play around with the parts and techniques I've shown you, and when you're ready to continue, press the red button in the upper right to exit. Back at the training menu, try the Flight Basics tutorial to learn how to fly this little craft, and then the Intermediate Construction tutorial can teach you more about the editor. Note: any vessels you create here will be lost when you exit. This is just for playing around. Okay. So, Roundy McRounderson didn't get to save. Got a mission flag. Let's do that. That's our mission flag. Yeah! Monkey Squad! Alright, let's leave. Back into training. And we can go into basic flights. As that tutorial. I am going to apologize to you all because there's a lot of tutorials to learn for this game, and that's also part of New Year, New Game. It's just kind of getting into a game that I've never played for, so I didn't expect this to really be much of what the game is. We're coming up on the 20-minute marker, so I think I'm actually just going to stop it. And I apologize for taking about 20 minutes of your time to walk through a tutorial on just the basic construction options for making the rocket. I can only hope that my silly little narration and stumbling of words was entertaining enough. As for the game in itself, it's hard to give it a kind of review just because it's going to take a while to learn how all of this works. Now, I'm all for a tutorial going through and teaching you how to play a game. Long tutorials, on the other hand, can also like kill a person's mood for wanting to play a game. You can start doing it, be like super excited about it, and then at some point it seems like that it's homework and it just kind of gets like, dull and not really entertaining. And maybe you'll tell yourself, hey, I'll come back to this later and finish the tutorial and figure out how to do this. Or, if you're somebody who is passionate about rockets and wanting to do things like that, this could definitely be a game for you. And you may not be getting as bored as somebody else, mainly myself, who is getting bored going through this and just wants to go play the game and do things. But with Sandbox open, they also mentioned something about missions and things like that. The missions would be something that I think I would be more into, as opposed to the Sandbox. Open world Sandbox to kind of just build rockets and shoot them into space and back down again. We really haven't gotten into much of anything else, so it seems like this game, to me, is just building rockets and lighting them off into the sky, flying up twice as high. Is all that there is in the game. But I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong. There's a lot of other things in here orbiting science. The Mun. So maybe there's things that we do on the Mun. From the Mun, docking, asteroid redirect type things like that. So there's clearly other things on here just based on the tutorial of that you can do. But I don't know if I'd actually come back and invest the time to check out the rest of the tutorials and see if it's a game that I like. This kind of reminds me of another game that I played called Space Engineers. And Space Engineers kind of had like the similar aspect of just, it was very down to the numbers on building and making rockets in space and things like that. And the realism of it all is awesome and amazing. Kerbal Space Program comes across as being like silly, but also still having that information. So you're getting the silliness mixed with the knowledge and learning base of it. Whereas like Space Engineer was just an open world, do what you want, space exploration, planet exploration kind of game. There's just a big difference between the two. But I didn't really keep my interest into Space Engineer all that much. You are in a pod, you've landed on a planet, you can disassemble the pod and find parts in there to build yourself a rocket and get yourself back into space. Also mining from the resources and discovering things on the planet in itself where you could build a base. And I think the whole goal was to launch yourself back into space, go to another planet, do it all over again. And there's certain space things that I like, and rocket building, going into space, doing those sorts of things, it seems like it'll be long, like it'll take a long time. And my desire to want to continue doing it is very low. I'm just not really interested in it when you have other games that are like No Man's Sky, for instance, where it's just like, here's your ship, explore planet, take off. That's it. You get your thing, you don't have to like build and adjust the rocket powers to get the right amount of boost to be able to launch and do things like that. But like I was saying, this game's clearly not for everybody. For people who are into the realisms of building a rocket, this is for you. or people who are just curious about those sorts of things and kind of likes the realistic side when it comes to these types of simulation games. And this game's for you. Anyways, that is going to do it for me. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next game. Goodbye.